We are live. StreamYard is like really on a streak. It's actually going live as soon as I push the button. Anyway, I'm Brent Leary. It's Friday. I love Fridays mainly because it's the next day till college football. But I also like it because we get a chance to talk a lot about small business and what happened during the week. And we are assembling the crew. The crew is a little different, but that's what that's kind of the nicety of this. We bring in other voices to have these conversations. Some voices are the same, like Leland here, Leland McFarland. Leland, what's going on, man?
Finally getting some cooler weather.
Oh, yeah. So what does that mean?
70s.
That's not bad. You know, I'm getting ready to go to San Jose, and I thought, oh, this time of year it's probably going to be really nice. And I hear it's like 105 degrees out there.
Oh,
I don't need that.
Last little bit of summer, just soak it up.
Yeah,
Get that vitamin D.
I hope it's gone by Tuesday, so we'll see about that. And this is interesting because the cold one, the bold one, John Colorice Lawson, usually just kind of wanders in about this time. He was actually here ahead of time, so thanks for joining us on time today, Mr. Bold One.
I mean, I can't cut a break.
No, you really can't.
I really can't.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I know.
Just damned. You're just damned. Damn it. But we aren't damned because introducing to the Small Business Breakdown for the first time, someone I've known, this is kind of unbelievable, probably going on like 15 years at this point. And we met at, I believe we met at Ramon Ray's, one of those, remember we used to do those events like 10, 15 years ago in New York. I forget what it was called. But they were really nice events. And I believe I met Shashi at that event. Shashi, thanks for joining us, man.
You're welcome. Thanks. I'm honored to join you, Lawson and Leland.
Well,
good to have you.
I can understand me and Leland, but I guess you're just being a nice guy.
Man, you are picking, boy.
Oh, am I getting under your collar there?
You're just picking a fight.
It's Friday.
Let's go.
Friday. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. And usually, as anybody who's watched this, and we are appreciative of anybody that watches this, we try to go into this with thinking we're going to talk about this and this and this. And I don't think that's happening. We're in the show 8. We just kind of let it wander and go where it goes. What was the face there, man?
I'm just like, really? Is this the 8th show?
It's the 8th show. So
wow. Time flies.
Time is really flying, So anyway, I want to see what we have on store for. So I think one of the ones that actually was ripped from the headlines of Small Business Trends was this idea of AI is really being used and targeted for scammers to use to kind of rip off small business folks off. So this nationwide survey, and you guys cover this in Small Business Trends. I'm going to go to the actual text of this survey here. A recent survey from Nationwide, I guess that's Nationwide is on your side insurance there, has found that 1/4 of small business owners in the U.S. have been targeted by AI-driven scams just over the past year. So, I mean, we always talk about how fast-moving AI is, and maybe the fastest movers are the scammers here, apparently. These scams, which are often use generative AI, so they're creating content just to scam us. Email, voice, video, impersonations, all that kind of stuff, have left many small businesses vulnerable to fraud. And then I just highlight AI-powered scams are emerging as a significant new threat. So I pose the question, have any of you seen any of these scams or actually been impacted directly by any of these scams?
Mainly, you get my grandma, she gets a phone call and it's just like, oh, I'm your cousin, or I'm one of your grandsons and I need money, and trying to suck out some money from them. I could definitely see, and I'm surprised that it took so long for like people to realize that scammers are going to be using AI, because one of the biggest tells when it came to a scam is, okay, that is some broken English that is coming through. And you could only do so much with Google Translate. But now that you have generative AI, you could be like, in English, write this kind of sentence or something to that effect. And then generative AI would do a really good job of coming up with a nice script or a nice email or something like that.
Yeah, it's out there. And
So-
it's coming for us all.
Why you say that so like with a smile and a laugh? I mean,
Because it is to get over it. I mean, hey, you got a cell phone, it's going to ring, and there's going to be an AI voice on the other side trying to convince you of something.
yeah. You know what? I'll never know because I never pick up my phone if it's a number that I don't know or if it's a number that comes across.
That would be best practices.
Yeah, don't answer your phone. So I've solved that problem. Anyway.
But I mean, you're getting emails and texts as well. Go ahead.
So I solved the problem by using AI. So I have a Google Pixel phone. So it answers most of my calls that are not from my contacts. And it's really good. Like people have told me, like, who is this guy who's answering your calls?
That's cool.
Yeah, but and I don't want to give away anything to scammers, but scammers don't leave a voicemail. So if you're a genuine business calling a customer, I think leaving a voicemail is the best practice, is what I would say. The second thing I wanted to say is like cyber security, scamming, I think I've always been there. And AI has just made it escalate. I mean, automated calling in different voices, like Leland said, different accents. You don't know where this is coming from. I think some kind of training is definitely needed for small businesses who are really busy doing their thing, right? They don't have time to worry about all of these things.
Another thing is too, small businesses don't have the luxury of ignoring a phone number that they don't know, because I mean, that could be a customer, that could be a vendor. So, I mean, they have people that answer the phone because you never know who's on the other end. And that's where it opens up to possibly having these AI generative voice scammers on the other side. And it's getting really good. It's amazing how conversational AI, especially if you just seen that OpenAI is opening up the API to their new conversational voice mode. And that is going to really amp up the crappy calls because you can actually have a conversation with this thing and it feels very natural.
Yeah,
Not 100, but
yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later because of what's going on with the Google with the notebook and all that kind of stuff. But do you think, because of what you said, I think it was you that said that, John, that small businesses, because they are small and they are businesses, they have to answer the call. They have to look at the emails. They that's just what they do. Does that mean that that makes them more of a target, or is it because they have to answer and open these things? They just are more susceptible because they have to do those kinds of things.
I think they could be, and they need to be more aware of the things that are out there right now, and it could definitely happen. It's like I got a scam email today, which was so weird because it said, it looked like it came from, of all places, Staples, saying, "Hey, I know you were looking for your account here. We couldn't find it. Enter your, account information here." And I'm like, really? Staples? I thought that was so weird, but that has to be something that's, geared to small business.
I get them from all like Home Depot or Lowe's,
Yeah.
and it's always like, thanks for being a loyal customer. Here attached is your invoice. Are you really expecting me to open? I know I haven't bought anything from you.
There's actually one very dangerous scam that actually comes from PayPal, because it seems to have, somebody can easily send you an invoice through PayPal where it comes from an actual PayPal address, and you don't know anything about it. So unless you're careful, unless you're aware of this, you're actually going to check out the invoice and say, hey, this looks legit, right? PayPal is doing a good job of quickly like shutting down those accounts, but it's still a danger that people
It's
should
funny.
be aware.
That's funny. I mean, since back in the eBay days, PayPal emails have always been, spoofed. I think that has always been one of the biggest spoofers out there are PayPal emails. That's crazy.
I want to. I want to, since we're talking about scams, and I don't know if this is technically a scam or a new hustle. I don't know. But I was just looking at this. I get a lot of these notifications. I'm guessing some of them are scams now, but most of them are pretty good. So I got this one last night from Business Insider, and it talks about what they call Gen Z's new side hustle. And then what they lay out is like you have these influencers on TikTok and Instagram and all that. Influencers who have millions of followers and all that kind of thing. What they're doing is they're kind of being like Airbnb arbitrage going on. So what they do is they rent out these Airbnb properties at one price. Oh, wait, hold the presses, stop everything. We got to introduce another new person to the Small Business Breakdown, but she's going to be a regular member. We already know that. She is, I want to make sure, Monique Johnson, or do we go Monique Johnson Dillsworth?
You can do either one.
First
Hi,
of all, thanks for joining us. This is great.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Apologies for being late.
Okay, so we have to introduce, or no, we should let you introduce yourself because you could probably do it better than any of us. So. Who are you, Monique?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Monique Johnson, or Monique Johnson Dillworth. I'm highly passionate about utilizing video and integrating it with your business to make sales and gain ROI. This is something that I've been doing since 2012. So it's been quite some time. And I'm all about helping businesses and organizations use this amazing medium, do live streaming like what we're doing right now to help grow their business. So that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you. And, she's a brand new mother, too.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So we were just getting into this one, Monique. So just got this from Business Insider. So there's a group of influencers like TikTok, Instagram influencers, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers. And what they're doing to kind of like monetize their followers is do this thing they're calling like it's a Airbnb arbitrage, where they rent Airbnb properties from actual Airbnb folks, but then they sublease or subrent those properties at a much higher, I mean, like ridiculously higher amount of money to people that follow them. So they go and get all these properties, and they're on the hook for them. So they have to pay the Airbnb folks, but then they rent them out to their followers at these exorbitant rates. So they get really nice places too. Like they're renting out like the cream of the crop stuff. Man, we scared her off already. So this is what they're calling a new side hustle. They're leveraging their status as an influencer, as a content creator. They're leveraging that to do this kind of arbitrage play. Now, I'll be the first to say this is not a new thing in terms of arbitrage. We all know that there's a term called the middleman for some reason, right? So this is like the virtual middleman at scale, and it's like maybe not the middleman, but the middle influencer. I don't know what you're gonna call it. So we're all small business folks. Do you see this as a legitimate small business move, or is this a scam like we just talked about, or is it something in the middle? How do you define or how do you think this is? Is this a real business opportunity, or is this a scam move? Anybody who wants to talk about it?
If you were to take Airbnb out and put anything else into it, face cream or pencils or whatever, if it's wrong in one way but right in the other way, I mean, is it? I mean, to me, I look at that as just if it as long as the Airbnb host is winning, then is it really that bad?
Well, they are getting paid by the influencer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the
As long-
influencer is turning around and really what I say is gouging their audience of fans when you think about it.
I mean, is that making a profit gouging?
Yeah, it is gouging.
Then every business is a gouge?
No, not every business is a gouge.
Okay, well, I don't understand.
They're paying a pretty low price.
Well,
And
wait, that's actually, that story is not about renting Airbnbs over. It's about apartment rentals.
Yeah, it's the same principle though, right?
Well, I'm just saying they're buying apartments
Well, do people get mad
on a
at
1-year
folks-
lease.
Do people get mad like at a let's say if you were back in the 80s in New York and there are certain people who own apartments and they only wanted to rent to either certain people or at a certain rate? Didn't we used to call those folks? Didn't they have a name for those folks? They could either be slumlords or gougers, and people didn't traditionally like those folks. Isn't this kind of the digital virtual remake 2.0 of that kind of activity?
Well, that was part of that story.
Yeah.
How it's increasing.
Knowing now that it's they're leasing apartments, and then I've heard of that before, and oftentimes those people get into trouble because there's no subleasing clause within the lease that they signed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they then have to incur fees and whatnot because, well, they kind of screwed up. And it becomes quite obvious when it's just a rotating cast of characters coming through an apartment. It's like, now if it was an Airbnb to an Airbnb, it's to my thought, it's like, well, you're just reselling a product. If you're taking something that is a lease and then turning it into an Airbnb, then you're taking an actual apartment out of the market that can actually be rented. I know I live very close to the east or the west coast, and there are a lot of these towns who are like, we don't want any more Airbnbs. We're really putting a stop on it because we're actually having a hard time getting apartments and houses for our actual residents, and it causes a bit of an issue.
I didn't read the article, Brent, but this is not a career advice to any entrepreneur. But there is another aspect of this. Let's say I knew about all the events that were taking place in American cities over the next 6 months. And I got in first, and to Leland's point, actually took Airbnb and then just said like, hey, if you're looking for accommodation when Salesforce Dreamforce is on, here, pay me double of what I'm already paying. That seems like on the borderline, but you run the risk of not being able to do that. So if it is legal, if it follows the rules of the local community, maybe it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. It's a hustle.
What
Now, is it a legitimate business model?
No, that's what I was asking.
Right. I was gonna tap into that. I was saying maybe this is just a trend. I'm not sure if it'd be something that's sustainable, that can be something that whoever's a Gen Z or these influencers can rely on for a very long period of time. But hey, if it's something that's available right now and they're able to make profit from it, or as you say, Brent, gouge people from it, I guess let them do it. But I don't think this is something that is a sustainable business model, as like John was about to say, things like that. I think it's just a trend, and we live in a world of many trends. Things are trending. That was trending yesterday won't be trending a week from now, a month, or even a year from now. So I think it's just more so that than anything else. And it's all about getting attention. And these influencers have all these eyeballs and the opportunity to benefit off of their audience, the platforms that they're using. So that's kind of like my thought on it.
Yeah, one of the things is that they were highlighting somebody that's doing like $500K a month.
Yeah, or 180,000 or something. Yeah.
Right,
Those numbers are huge. Yeah.
And what they're also doing is they're creating courses.
Yeah.
That's why you got the influencer part.
Yeah.
Is they're creating courses on
Yeah.
teaching others how to do this kind of
How to
hustle.
scam people.
Right. And they're probably setting it up on a stand store and, all these different things. So
Using all the internet marketing tools and tips and tricks.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not getting on my soapbox. I'll do that at 5 later today. So
Oh, Lord.
So let's just take it up a notch or down a notch. I don't know how you look at it. The fact that I understand, you're trying to monetize your audience and things like that, but is there a line that people need to be on, content creators, influence, even if you don't have millions of followers, even if it's like 10,000 or 100,000 or something like that? Everybody's looking to monetize, so they're usually trying to like sell t-shirts or courses or things like that. When you start getting to the point where you're trying to gouge I'm trying not to be too slanted here. When your offer is so ridiculously large for things that they aren't necessarily large to you, is that or are they starting to take advantage of their subscribers, their members, when they start looking for ways to monetize at a certain level?
I wouldn't say it's taking advantage. I mean, think about it, something as simple as real estate, right? There's different levels. There's luxury real estate versus just, I guess you could say, regular residential. I kind of see it as this. This is probably like the luxury way of doing Airbnb and benefiting from, Airbnb. And if there are people who are willing to take you up on it, I don't see there's like a major harm per se. I know you're saying it's gouging, but it'd be different if it's someone who, it's a bunch of people who it's their last dollar, their last dime, or it's something where they already know, they think this is the only thing that's available when they know Airbnb and there's so many different prices. I just feel like this is just, there's different levels to everything. And I feel like this is the luxurious level of doing Airbnb and doing rentals and making it beneficial for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. It's simple supply and demand. There's demand and they're supplying that demand. And people are willing to pay. Ain't nobody twisting somebody's arm to do this. They're not taking bread from somebody else's table. I don't see a problem with this. Other than like Leland said.
Do you also think like the lifespan of being an influencer is very short, so make as much money as you can?
There you go.
Before you're found out to be a fraud. No, once again, I'm trying not to go that route.
I get a little irritated when they don't, because not all influencers push their own materials. They push stuff that's brought to them, and I get a little irritated when influencers don't really look into what they're actually putting out there. I know that there was this big, huge scandal with the buy land in Scotland and become a lord a couple of years ago.
Oh,
and
I missed that.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was huge. All of these influencers were pushing the same product, and you basically buy this one little tiny square plot in you buy it and you become a lord under England laws of owning land in England. It's complete bunk, and it got investigated, and that company got hit really, really hard, and all of these influencers who were pushing it were having to backpedal and apologize and be like, I'm sorry, I pushed out this obvious scam. And there, every so often something like that happens, and it's like, I know Raid Shadow Legends was a big one. It's like, push this game that lots of microtransactions, and just if you're an influencer, watch what you're pushing, because it could push right back onto you.
I'm glad you brought that up, Leland, because I agree. In fact, I respect the influencers that push products that they actually use, especially in the product space. They'll even disclose this and say, hey, or you'll see like on a consistent basis, whether let's just say for Instagram or something, they're constantly putting it on their stories, their reels, the same products that they're pushing, and they're showing like how it's benefiting them, or, you know, why they like it, you know, stuff like that. Versus you can easily tell when someone is just pushing something just to push it. And that's another thing. It's like, in the world of influencers, there's all types of influencers, but I really respect those that actually at least try whatever product or service or whatever it is that they're pushing, and or they're consistently using it. And to me, that just brings even more rapport and trust, and how they can easily get more buyers just by disclosing that.
Yeah, I mean, look at FTX. I mean, you can buy influence if you have enough money.
Right.
So
Was that the one that Larry David and got
Yeah,
caught up?
all
Okay.
of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Didn't know a damn thing about what they were doing.
No, I mean,
And yeah, why wouldn't you look
people
into
take
something like
commercials.
that? Yeah.
I mean, you think the network looks into commercials that they run? No. I mean, that's the game. This is capitalism, and that's how capitalism works. And I mean, it is what it is. So the onus is really on the other side. It's on the consumer to do their research. Don't just take the word of some influencer just because they got a lot of followers, you know. But that's the way we are right now. If somebody's got followers, we're like, oh, they must know what they're talking about. Really? Just because they got followers? You know, you can buy followers too, right? I mean, give it a
How much did you pay again back
about
in the day?
about $1 a piece.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, there's a new FTC rule that you can buy followers.
That you cannot.
You cannot.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You can't buy followers anymore? That's pretty
put a lot of
staggering.
business on. That put a lot of businesses out of business.
Yeah, I didn't know that happened. I'm very glad it did.
Now that's interesting.
Wow.
I got to look that up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's going to put a lot of influencers out of business.
Now, I just wanted to add one perspective of this. Like when AI in future is going to look at all the signals about a business, it will look at signals of content created by influencers. It doesn't know what is a scam and what is not. So that could be a danger signal for the future, right? There should be some way of saying, like, this is a scam. I mean, the user reporting it back. Who knows if this comes up in the top search of Google's AI overview of Leyland's example of the Scottish Lord scam, right? So that's a danger or downside of AI and influencer signals.
Well, I thought you was going to go the other way. Because I was just thinking, like, you know, AI can actually tell whether or not the influencer's following has been purchased or not. Are these actual real? Because it's very easy oftentimes to look at somebody's followers and tell whether those followers are actually real followers if you actually look at their profiles and see if there's content on the profile of the followers for the influencer. So I'm thinking that AI is possibly going to help
or look at
identifying influencers that have fake followers.
Yeah, or exactly.
That's a business idea, John.
That is good.
But I'm thinking of the opposite way. It's like you're going to get these scammers who are going to be like targeted. Oh, I don't got any content. Well, I got AI, and I can make a boatload of content in less than 10 seconds, and it'll cost me all but a penny.
Well, we already saw that.
We
already saw that with that guy, that engineer that wanted to be a musician, and he used AI to create a bunch of songs and create a bunch of listeners, and he built Spotify and Amazon out of like $10 million. That was he started that well before Gen AI really took off. So yeah, now that it's making all this AI stuff is making it easier and easier, which actually is a great segue to another one of these stories. And this is, oops, I didn't mean to remove it. I mean to bring this up. This for whatever reason, this started getting a lot of traction this week. What Google's doing with their notebook and there is AI to take written text and create podcasts out of it. And I know you've used it, John. I played around with it once I really started looking into it. And like John, and I don't know if anybody else who's been using it, I'd love to get your take on it. I think I downloaded or made a PDF out of my LinkedIn profile, and I uploaded this notebook thing and hit the generate conversation, or I think they call it deep dive, whatever. And it literally sounds like two people talking about your resume, like they're reading your resume and they're going back and forth about what it means and how. And it sounds like two, for the most part, two regular people. Now, of course, I said, all right, I'll take this a step further. I went and get the transcripts from all these tech companies that presented at a tech conference, the Goldman Sachs tech conference. So I got NVIDIA, I got their transcript of their presentation, I got the transcript of AMD, Microsoft. So I got like 5 different transcripts, and I literally took it to this notebook thing, uploaded it, all the PDFs, and then hit the generate button, and it created an 8-minute conversation based on, I guess, the meat and potatoes that came out of those 5 PDFs from those 5 presentations. And I have to say,
it was great.
It was pretty good. Not great. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It hit some of the key points, because I did two things. I actually read the PDFs. I sent the PDFs through Propensity, and then I also sent it through Notebook. Now, there are some differences in what was highlighted in the Propensity text breakdown and the conversational Notebook podcast. But I was impressed. I was impressed more with that than the dog and pony trick of downloading your own LinkedIn profile and having it read back to you. I mean, that was kind of superfluous. But the meat and potato that came out of those documents was really interesting, and the way they weaved it together, it was really good. So, anybody have any thoughts on personal experience with what you've seen with this so far?
I'll let John go because he just used it. I've used it too, but John, why don't you go?
Oh, I mean, it's for one, the technology behind it, I'm really impressed with, and the ability for which they don't give you the prompt, right? Which would be lovely to have that prompt, and it's coming soon. Of being able to create this back and forth conversation that really sounds very natural around anything that you upload. So that's pretty cool. And I did the same thing. I uploaded like my landing page and had it go back and forth. What I found interesting was the question or the conversations that it has around the data and how it extracts, topics and how they might talk about it. So sometimes they might talk about it in a very, positive way, or other times they'll talk about it in a very questionable way in terms of, why is it like that? Couldn't it be better? Why did they do that? It really gives you a different perspective on the data that's being fed into it. So I think it's really a fascinating tool, not just for the audio parts, but if you go in to the other parts where it can extract like a table of contents, a short description of the data that you put in, it's a very value add tool. And I think OpenAI has some challenges that they're going to have to address, because now Google has actually made a tool that is very user-friendly and usable. I don't have to prompt it. I just put the stuff in and push a button.
Okay.
And it gives me output.
I was trying to get a chance to say goodbye to her, but you were so damn long-winded. Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Wrap it up quicker, man. Jesus.
I didn't see that.
You chased her away.
I chased her away.
Yeah.
Shashi, what are your experiences with this?
So I want to take a little bit of a different stance. And in all honesty, this has nothing to do with my research with Infotech, but my own personal opinion. I think ChatGPT coming on the scene and letting everybody have access to AI through a browser caused 2 big problems. One is people got really very scared and said like, oh my God, everybody's job is going away. On the other side, the expectancy really became very big. It was a nice marketing ploy, which is exactly what Google is doing. Notebook is a very good tool, like you said, John. I mean, today, if you just want to take somebody sending you a whole PDF and upload it and say, like, hey, give me a summary, Notebook does it well. But what is the utility value of this? Like, people have started saying, like, podcasts will disappear because people will just write a. I mean, that was already there, right? You could already do that. So between actual practical use cases, I have a better use case with Google. Google has a new Imagen 3 with Google Vid, right? So I was trying to promote a webinar. I was able to just put a piece of text and say, create a video. The reason that's more practical for me is videos are watched much more than people reading. So it was a short 1.5 minute video from something that people would take a longer time. It was pretty cool. I mean, it brought up all the things. It said, hey, this is a webinar. I recognize. I didn't even have to prompt it, just like you said, John. So companies that have been doing AI for a very long time, Google, Amazon, Meta, albeit they're doing it mostly for their own purposes, but they got blindsided by the chat GPT. Now I struggle with businesses to say, like, I can do everything with chat GPT. I say, like, no, hold on. You need to figure out what is the best use case. And the three best use cases are customer support, productivity, and operations, right? Now tell me, all three of you, which of these three is this notebook LLM converting to audio going to fit into?
Well, I'll tell you what it's going to be used for most significantly is to push content out. So it's going to, I mean, I love the customer support angle, but let's face it. Most people are looking at this. How do I create more content? How can I automate the creation of content? How can I push it out so I can get more attention? That's where this is going, because the way I use it for internal. I don't think content is king anymore. I think filters are king. And I use this as a way to filter, use this. Give me the summary of these 5 technology presentations at this conference that are in PDF. It's just for me.
Yep.
But most people are going to use it to, all right, how can I take what I do and push it out so that I can get people's attention? And because that's what business is running on, attention nowadays. If you don't have anybody's attention, you're not going to get anybody's money. So I muted you because you were making too much noise. So hold on a second.
Excuse me. You said nowadays. That's
all right. All times. Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's what it's being used, right? That's what it eventually is going to be the biggest use cases. How do we use this to push ourselves out there to get the attention? And I totally understand it. Totally understand it.
I mean, the distilling of content is very valuable, and being able, I think
so too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to distill content. We don't have to sit through, a 1-hour presentation to get the 3 bullet points that are worth listening to.
Yeah, but I agree. But I do think the vast majority, or maybe not vast, but the majority of folks are already looking at this as, how do I use this to push out more content? Because that's what we do nowadays.
Well, I think those are the first people that see it.
Then my bot is going to say, like, hey, go find content, summarize it. That's not AI generated.
I really do think that, and Leland, I would love to get your perspective too, because I mean, you're at Small Business Trends. I really do believe that as great as these tools are, there's always the I don't know if it's the negative use cases or people who use it in a more a way that's just more greedy and more focused inward and not really focused on even their customers as they think about this or the overall. I do think that these tools make it easier for people to scale up what they do, and that means it makes it easier for people who have negative, or nefarious reasons to do stuff to scale up what they do. I mean, we just spent the first half hour talking about scams and how AI is this could potentially be another way that scammers are made with using AI.
Actually, I just thought of something. 3-4 years ago, like Google had introduced, if you go to Google local results and look for a restaurant, you can actually reserve a table where the Google's AI is going to call the restaurant. So maybe,
Oh, I
John, this
remember
is
that.
a way to, like, if somebody calls your phone number, you use this to record uh, some of the details about your business. If you instead of hold music or something like that, right?
I mean,
And
one
then
of the things. Oh, go ahead.
I was
Leland.
going to say, you're just going to have people streaming agent, representative.
I do that all the time, actually.
That's so funny. I mean, here's the thing, though. I remember, what was that? Maybe 2-3 years ago at
I
this
think it was
point.
longer than that. Was before, if I'm not mistaken,
Was that before
the
ChatGPT?
yeah, that was before. It
Yep.
was well before Chat GPT.
Well,
That
before chat.
It
that
was,
might have been
right?
before the pandemic. I think it was
Right.
right before the
Yeah,
pandemic.
you're right, because it was definitely a big event.
It freaked a lot of people out.
Right, right. And then also, if we go back a little bit further, remember when, what was it? Adobe showed off generative speech. You remember when the guy was on stage and somebody talked and he said, read this sentence. And then he took that sentence and turned it. Remember? And everybody's like freaked out. And it's like, look, we're here. That's how fast this is happening. And I definitely see the use cases. And that's really what you got to think about. This Notebook LM is an experimental Google release. It's been out for a long time. They just added this voice thing on it in the last couple of
That's
weeks.
what got the attention.
And that, right, and that took a lot of attention. But you have to understand, they're just sitting back trying to see how people are going to use this, and then from that use case, they will come up with an actual product.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely, if I can go into a city and say, hey, I want to go out to dinner tonight, find me a restaurant that's of this caliber, that and book me a table at this time, and it can go through all the restaurants and do that and find the one and then say, hey, John, you're booked at so and so and so, and your Uber car will arrive at 30 minutes before, so be ready. That's where we're going.
Oh, that's great. But see, that's where we start talking about these agents thing, like the AI agents, like what Salesforce is really blasted everybody talking about, the autonomous or semi-autonomous agents, where they're not just able to have a conversation with you, they're actually able to do stuff with you, and they're able to kind of think on their own. So they don't even need instructions anymore. They actually take all the data that's at their disposal and make decisions, and then take those decisions and create activities and launch those activities. That is definitely where it's going. I don't think we're ready to get there yet, because
it'll be
the
here.
Ramifications are going to be crazy
2025,
for this
bro.
stuff. Yeah, but it's really interesting. So I think we're about ready to wrap it up, since we're about 45 minutes in. We talked about a lot of stuff, but AI, the potential, of course, everybody knows it, but the scamming, where are we going to be like 2 years from now? Are we going to be more trusting of the AI, or because the scammers are doing things that are going to make us very untrusting, are we going to be looking at AI as a net positive or a net negative in even 2 years from now? I think we all can see the benefits, but we all have to not be blind to the negatives that are going on here.
I don't think we all see the benefits. I think we all see we focus way more on the negatives than we do on the benefits.
Really?
Absolutely.
Doesn't feel like
well, here's the deal. 2 years from now, it cures cancer. What do you say? Are we focusing on, hey, I get too many scam calls, but it's going to cure cancer.
But if it, on the flip side, if somehow somebody uses it for a nuclear weapon and it kills millions, that's the balance. That's the counterpoint.
Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to.
It is what it is, man. Yeah. Technology. I was talking to my partner the other day, and we were talking about the same topic. I said, how many people have died because of the invention of the wheel? It's just going to happen.
You go back to like ancient times with those chariots and stuff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, today, even, car accidents.
Yeah.
One for the invention. I get it. But that's just part of the nature of, and we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
You didn't
Yeah.
say that with your chest.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We'll be all right.
Yeah, I think on the scamming part, Brent, small businesses have a bigger problem about cybersecurity. They're too busy to like follow what is the latest threat and everything. And only now, I think big companies are not focusing on cybersecurity for small businesses because less profit, more hand holding.
Yep.
I think there is a gap that needs to be filled, especially with these threats. I mean, today, who are they going to call? Their internet provider, their technology provider, right? If something goes wrong.
Hey, Shashi, just a quick counterpoint. Didn't I meet you and you were at a Network Solutions at the time or something like that?
Yep, I was at Network Solutions, and we met probably 2007 or 8.
Yeah, that's about right.
Ramon Reyes.
Yeah,
That's
but
funny.
so we don't
So
want
you
to. We
think
don't
there's
want
a
to.
hole in the market now, or has there always been a hole in the market for this?
Oh, it's always been.
There's always been a hole in the market. I think
Okay.
today the most small businesses, in my opinion, call the guy down the road who comes in and weekly does something for them. But they need to be very proactive about some of these threats that are coming up.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. Why don't we end on that on a good point, and then we'll go into our last points. So Shashi, since this is your first go around with us, we always have everybody just leave like a parting thought. I used to say parting shot, but it's probably better to say parting thought at this point. So give us a parting thought before we end today.
I think AI is very useful. It's been around for many centuries. Don't go for the coolness factor. Go for something that you can implement that's going to help your revenue. That's my parting thought.
Okay, Mr. Bold.
I think definitely, you got to learn as much as you can right now because of how fast it's moving. Just go ahead, dip your toe in the water. Like Sashi said, find practical use cases. Don't be all about the shiny new object. Really, take this time to learn as much as you can, and you'll be all right.
Okay, Leland.
Tools are tools. AI is a tool, and it is a wonderful tool if you can use it. Well, don't think of it as like it's just going to, I'll just put it on autopilot. No, I'll just coast away. Use it appropriately, and it will benefit you greatly. But yeah, learn it. As John was saying, just keep up with it. It changes so often, but keep up on it, and it'll do good things for you.
Yeah, and then I guess my parting thought is it ain't slowing down anytime soon. It ain't going away. You better, in the longer you wait, the further behind you get. I mean, we've been saying that about technology forever, but the scale and speed at which this stuff is moving, nothing in the past has moved quite as fast as what's going on here. So you can't even afford to stick your head in the sand at this point, because once you bring it back up, you're going to be like, where am I? Is this the same place I was at? Because it ain't going to look the same. So yeah, I think all of us, as apprehensive as we are in certain instances and aspects of what's going on out there, you can't afford to ignore it. You can't afford to say, yeah, no. You can say that, but you better act a different way, okay? Because this ain't going anywhere. All right. And also, if you really like how I yell at the cold one, the bold one, John Cold Rice Lawson here, you're really going to love how I roll at 5 o'clock. So you might want to check that out as well. Don't give me that look.
I'll let you go.
All
Good
right,
luck
folks.
with that.
We will see you next Friday for another small business breakdown by Small Business Trends.
All right.